y'all. So I wanted to just talk about loving people. And this is something, like I said, whenever I speak, I'm also learning with you guys and growing with you guys. I don't claim to be the master of these things that I'm talking about, but they are things that God has given me for me to speak about. So I just share it with you guys because it's something that God is also working on my heart in. And I was talking about loving people. It makes no sense, or I should put it like this. I'll start off with dealing with or loving people who aren't changing fast enough for you. Or, let's say you decide to love somebody, whether it be a friend or somebody you want to date. One thing that you have to come to the realization about people is that just because you treat a person right or just because you love a person correctly does not mean that they will ever change. And it does not mean that they will change when you want them to change. And you have to, at some point in your life, make up in your mind how you're going to choose to love people. Are you going to choose to love people based upon what they give back to you? Or are you just going to make the choice to love people? And I think that, just giving an example, God is love, right? And so what is love? Love is patient, love is kind, it is not self-seeking, it's not boastful, and, God exudes all those things. And guess what? He is that way to his creation. People who believe or don't believe. And guess what? There are people who will make the decision to not have anything to do with God. And they will make the decision to not believe in him or love him. But guess what? That does not stop God from being good to people. He just makes the choice to love people. So I think that if our example, our greatest example, hopefully if your greatest example is God, and God chooses to love that way, should we not also be like our Father in heaven? And another thing too is, if people do that to God, then what makes you think that they won't do it to you? And another thing too, the person may change. I'm not saying that people won't change if you don't love them, because it does happen a lot. Love can change people's hearts, can soften people's hearts. But guess what? A person may not change when you want them to change. It may take a person 20 years to learn how to, be selfless or not be selfish. And so, you have to make, like I said, you have to make it up in your mind, how you're going to choose to love people. All of us have free will. You can base how you love people based upon what they do for you, or you can just choose to love. I think personally that there's freedom in choosing to love, regardless of what people decide to do to you or not, because they don't have any control over your choice. Now, if they choose to take advantage of your love, then that's on them and not on you. But you, out of your heart, decided, I'm just going to be good to this person. Now, nobody's saying to be a fool and, allow yourself to be in a unhealthy environment, because you have to know your capacity for people. So, for instance, and I was using this example, sometimes what we'll do is we'll be like, well, this person just isn't acting this way, blah, 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 and, it's just affecting me emotionally or whatever. And I feel like a lot of times we can use an unhealthy environment as an excuse to just give up easily on people, or not to use patience at all. It's like you skipped patience and went to, oh, this is just too much. Now, what I will say is, when knowing your capacity, if you're at a place with somebody where you can't love them correctly, then it's probably best for you to remove yourself from that person out of love, not based upon. Now, sometimes people, hey, you can't help why people choose what the way they do things, but I will say, if you know that you can't love somebody correctly or appropriately or be patient with them, then it's probably best for you guys to take a break from each other. Whether that's 5 days, an hour, 5 weeks, or a year, whatever. If you need to take a break, or if you just need to remove yourself from that person's life so you can get your heart right, then do that. Now, definitely, I wouldn't encourage you to just do it just because you want to be spiteful, or you want to do it because you want to control that person and be like, well, I'm just going to remove myself because you're not doing what I want you to do. So, no, like, we should grow to a point where we recognize our flaws and our faults and say, hey, I recognize that in this area I'm not mature enough to be around you and still love you appropriately. Whether you come to that conclusion or not means nothing. I mean, it is what it is. Everybody doesn't think that way. But I will say, like I said, if you aren't able to coexist, then that may be the answer, just to remove yourself or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that, But I do feel like I hope that if you do decide to separate yourself from somebody, you'll do it because you want to mature in your heart to better love people. One of the scriptures that came to my mind was what Jesus was saying. I think it's in Matthew, but he was saying, take the plank out of your eye so you can appropriately see how to help to take the speck out of your brother's eye. And so, like I said, a lot of times it's us, it's how we respond to each other. And I'm learning this, I really am, but I do recognize there is a such thing as exercising your choice and exercising your free will. That doesn't mean that because you exercise your choice or your free will that it will be beneficial for you or others. But we do have that freedom. God has given us that freedom to exercise our free will. I will encourage you that if you're going to exercise your free will, your choice, make sure that it is something that is based upon the Word of God and wisdom. Now we may not always make the right decisions. That happens. I do the same thing. But ultimately, let love fuel what you do. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with taking time for yourself to kind of really assess if the decisions that you have made is based upon self or based upon love, and that's that. So that's pretty much all that I have, you guys. I hope that helps somebody. I'm still, like I said, I'm still walking in this journey of how to love people better, and where to put people in my life so I can love them effectively. Because I recognize that I'm not God. And so, because I know I'm not God, and I know that there's some places in my heart that need to mature, sometimes it is best for me to just put somebody in this particular area, or over on this place in my life, so that I can love them the right way, because if they were any closer to me, or if the relationship was different, then I may not personally be mature enough just yet to love them how I should, but yeah, I'm learning, so y'all continue to pray for me, and all right, love y'all.